Dread the weekend. Because I don't know. Why do I dread the weekend? Why? What is so hard about it having somebody else around? Well, if I decide I don't want to do anything anymore, I can just get up and leave. But if somebody's here or around me and I just get up and leave, then I feel like they think I'm crazy. She just all of a sudden changes her mind. Like I remember having my kids and promising them I would do something or I would go somewhere with them, and all of a sudden, I just got to go. I can't stay here anymore. That was panic. And, I feel something and I'm afraid I'm going to die. And I take that all the way back to having the pneumonia at 5. It must have put a lot of emotions um, in me, because when you're little, it's not necessarily the facts you remember, it's the emotions. You have nothing to relate to when you're young. You haven't had enough experiences to have names to everything, so you remember more as emotions. And that, I think, is what causes the panic I have. My parents argued so much, they were always fighting, and I'd have to just scream bloody murder real loud sometimes to get them to stop fighting, to stop hurting each other. And I guess I was happier when I was home by myself in the afternoons, because Daddy wasn't there, she wasn't there, so there wasn't any fighting. There was no drama. But if they're there, there's always something. So I just go back in my room, listen to the stereo. So, they're arguing, and my pneumonia at 5, I know, left a lot of emotional programming in there. Some people call it scars. Um, I like the word programming better. It's not, although, yeah, we can see programming as negative. But I think of us as androids, where we come into these bodies and we have to learn to function with them. How to walk, talk, the rules and regulations for life, that others have set up before us. And it's only a few of us that have the balls, the guts to say, just because you made up these rules doesn't mean they apply to me. And to go on and try to live their lives as best they can under the terms that they know are better, at least for themselves, and to leave space for others to live as they see fit, whether it's because of religion differences, or financial differences, or age differences, whatever the differences may be, cultural, color, creed, heritage, whatever the difference is, to allow space for others to be. So I think that's one reason why it's hard for me on the weekends. My husband comes home. I feel like I've got to cook for him. I've got to have the house clean before he gets there. Lord knows I don't. I just don't even do that anymore. So because I don't do it, I feel bad. So there's another negative experience on top of that for my weekend. And, at least if I'm here by myself, or I go places by myself, if I want to leave, I can leave. If I start to feel bad, I just get in the car, tell everybody at the library, bye, see you tomorrow, or don't say a word and walk off. It's so different when you don't have a responsibility or an obligation to someone. You can say be yourself, but a lot of times react to the emotions of the events. I have 4 Hummers out there fighting. If they were all drinking, they wouldn't have to be fighting. Instead, they're fighting. And I know this is a natural thing. It's just like our programming. It's survival, whatever it is. But I've seen lots of hummingbird feeders where everybody eats together, so I don't know why ours won't. Look at that. Bless their hearts. I heard a couple of them at the back this week actually fighting so furiously up over my head. I was sitting at the table out on the carport. It sounded like they had peeled rubber when they took off. It was a little And I'm like, what? How does a hummingbird peel rubber with his wings? But that's what it sounded like. Anyway, I digress. I don't know if I call it digressing. I love watching the little critters fight as they may. But I feel like we are what we are, and we would be different if we had different families, different upbringing, different surroundings as we grew up. We really would be. You can take two twins and separate them and adopt them out to different homes. And yes, they have some characteristics that look alike, and they may even have some inherited characteristics where they act alike, sound alike, but they can be somewhat different because of their environment. Some are very different. And they say it's according to how identical their patterns are in the genes. But I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think if we were raised differently, if I was raised in India, for instance, I would act different. If I was raised in Africa, I would feel different, act different. If I was raised anywhere, so the place makes a difference, the religion makes a difference, the family, its upbringing, its marks it makes on you. And it's nice to think that there's something greater up there planning all this and setting it out, and that gives us someone to pray to beg to make it different. But I don't think there's anything separate from us, not even those hummingbirds. I don't think so. And I know a lot of what I think in that regard is a result of more programming now um, with gurus and teachers. But we normally, once we're adults, don't take on a programming unless we decide that's what we want. We may decide because we're under pressure by our friends. We may decide because we feel we have to. But we do have a more of a choice, an educated choice. So we recognize more easily what we call truth, what's truth for us. Y'all are just so precious. I should open the window and just let you fly in here. I'm afraid to get hurt. So I can tell myself that I know my reactions are from my past programming, so that my brain can maybe eventually release some of the worry about it and just go on about its business. But it's like the brain is a totally different organism. It's like we've got quite a few of us in there. There's our programmed personality. There's what the brain has learned, which is part of your programming. It's learned touch a fire and it's hot. So it's going to warn you get near something warm. It's going to start little beeps, and it's going to check things out and register it against past experiences, what you should do or not do. But it really is like there's different beings in there. When you start observing things, thoughts, happenings, you begin to see that there is something else in there that can observe objectively and does. And then you also find that there has been all along, including that, a voice in there that has told you don't do this, run away. And if you don't respond, something happens, and it's generally negative. Or it says, hold on, this is good, right, fall into it. And you go with the flow, and it's wonderful. Somehow we've quit listening to that. People used to call it shoulder angels. I guess because it does seem like there's two voices in the head, more than that. I swear there's a million in my head. It just amazes me every day, the things I hear come out of my brain. Stupid things, just absolutely stupid things. And I've gotten to where I start saying them to my husband and my best friends, just out of curiosity. I tell them, okay, now this is what my brain just told me to do or say. Get a kick out of this. And I say it, and a lot of them go, oh, and I'm like, you're trying to tell me that your brain doesn't say stupid things like that all the time? And I mean, all the time. It may get less and less with time, but I think most of us, it's going on 24/7. And I think that's the main reason I mention it, is to get them to click and realize if my brain's doing it, yours is too. And you're just not admitting it. And it can be fun sometimes, especially with good friends you know you can trust. But, normal people, if you're talking, and I call normal the people that are raised by society and follow their rules. Those are the normal people. And if you say something like that, something crazy, my brain just said, run into that car. They'll go, oh, you're suicidal, what's the matter? No, my brain was just thinking out a process. It was just thinking, what would happen if, or whatever it was thinking. Half the time I really don't know what it's thinking, because it's basing it on past experiences that I'm doing my best just to forget. And 9 times out of 10, I have forgotten. And so I don't know why it's bringing up the crap. So really, I'm better off just not to listen to it. But the question still lies there. Why do I not like the weekends? I think I got used to my husband being home every night, and I enjoyed that. And I was raised, my parents both worked, so I was used to being alone all day except in the evenings. So I want my husband home after work, but I just don't want to hear it during the day. I want to be able to do what I want to do. And I think he's the same way, because when he worked for the county driving special needs bus, I'd get calls from the county, a message for Clay. I'm sorry, Martha, he's not here, or whatever her name was, He's not home? No, he never comes home. He goes to work and he comes home at the end of the day, and that's it. Oh. And of course, she doesn't want to say anything because she doesn't want to worry me. I'm like, hey, he's out there doing whatever he wants to do. He chooses not to be home, either because he'll say that it's, I don't want him here, therefore I'm giving her space, or he doesn't want to be here, and so he's doing his thing, and either one is fine. That's his choice. And people kind of look at us like we're crazy because we allow each other these spaces and these things. And I'm like, I don't have him tied to me. I don't own him. This is his life he's living. This is my life I'm living. And I can't help what he thinks and how he was programmed, other than what I may program him at this point by my actions. And vice versa. So you learn to live with each other. I know his damage. He's told me, I'm sure, as much as he cares to. He knows my damage. I've told him more than I should tell anybody. Because when you're living together, if you don't, then the person can take offense to things you do and your reactions. They've got to have a background to be able to relate. Oops, she's not mad at me, or he's not mad at me. I bet this is reminding him of blah, 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 So communication is important in a relationship where you're that close. Even with friends, it's very important. And I'm getting off the subject like I always do. But actually, all subjects are tied together because we're all one and everything's one. It all leads back to the same thing, to the true self, which is in all. And I'm not saying each one of us has a separate true self. There is a true self, and we're all reflections of that truth. And I'm not saying it's some sky god or anything else. It's just, that's the way it is. Or it seems to be, to me. There is something that has to hold this stuff together somehow. Energy, universally, whatever. It's all connected in some way. We think we're separate, but there is no separation between this matter and this matter. It's touching. Everything is touching, and it's more than touching. It's inside. This matter has just pulled and formed into this, but it's still from the same place, of the same place, is the same place, the same thing. So, how does all that relate, once again, to me not wanting anybody to be around and me be by myself all the time? And I don't think that's the case either. I want to be out and be with people. I just don't want to be put in a box and I have to do this or have to do that. But I'm lucky. I'm married to a person that is not that way. He's not going to put me in a box. He's not going to demand I be anything. And I hope I don't demand him. I do ask him a lot of times, help me with something. And I ask him a whole lot more than that to go with me places. But I think we work pretty good together. I worry that he doesn't share his limits and say, look, I just can't do this. He'll just buck up and do it anyway because of his programming. So I have to be careful and give him an out so that he can, get out if he doesn't want to do something. But anyway, it's been fun talking to myself, and I hope it'll be helpful to be able to look back at it in the future. Maybe somebody else can look at it and they can learn something from it. Don't know if I'll post it or not. We'll see. Namaste. Hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you are learning to see the joy and the good in everything. And even if it's something bad that happens, there's a good in it because there's a lesson. I've had a lot of people yell at me, I don't want any more lessons. I've had enough lessons. We're always learning. We've always got lessons. If we're not, we're stagnating. So go for it. Thank you for listening, Debbie.